Hey everybody, it's Dr. Johnny with a kind of emergency webinar, or one that we felt was important to get out there right now. So I'm actually recording this at home in my home studio so we can get it out as quickly as possible. And so many people have asked for some guidance about the coronavirus. And they've asked Jade and me and every other health professional I can imagine. And it's probably been the most asked question any of us have gotten in the last month, with good reason. And a lot of people have put out a lot of information about it and what to do, and there's a lot of confusion. And I certainly do not have the answers, but I do have a perspective on it, and that is all that I can really share with you, and I hope it will be of value to you. And I hope that if you're listening to this, right in the heart of the fury over it, which is March 2020, I hope there'll be information in here that actually will expand to other situations and that you can use in other contexts when the next, scary thing happens, as it most definitely will in a certain number of years. So let me offer my perspective on this for what it's worth. You know how if you've ever worked in an office or done anything in public space where you come in contact with other people a lot, something will inevitably be going around, right? And what happens in any office? Couple people get really sick and they're out for days. Couple people may have some mild symptoms. They may miss a day of work. Some people seem to be unaffected. They just don't get it. Why does that happen? It's the same virus. It's the same bug, whatever it is, right? Well, Louis Pasteur, who was the great microbiologist and spent his lifetime studying germs and microbes, on his deathbed, he pondered the same question. Now, what is it? It's the same germ. And his last words on his deathbed were, "Look to the host." The host being the person who gets the infection, the person who gets the virus. You're the host. That's the germ, right? And he had spent his life studying germs, but realized at the end that the action was really in studying the person who houses the germ. You see, you can look at a hurricane and it will do incredible damage down the coast to homes, right? There's no question. That's the same hurricane, but some homes will be swept away, some will be modestly damaged, and some will be standing there. How does that happen? Because they're built differently. And because it really comes down to, in the end, when some are standing and some aren't, that there might be some structural integrity in the ones that are standing, that they were built, with catastrophe in mind. They've got all their resources. They've got a strong foundation. They're balanced. And that's kind of the situation we find ourselves in anytime something like this is going around. So what steps can we take right now, not so much to battle the virus, but to strengthen our houses, which is our own bodies and most definitely our own immune system? What can we do to actually give that the most tensile strength and structure that we possibly can, so that we'll be able to kind of do our best in any of the challenges that present themselves to our health or to our well-being. Now, you notice whenever they have these warnings and they ever have these announcements, and they're always talking about infants and seniors, aren't they? They always say, but especially careful, and all kinds of times of hardship, heat waves and cold waves and virus outbreaks. Why is that? Why are they the most vulnerable? They're the most vulnerable because their immune system is the most compromised. And therefore, its ability to fight off that virus is not going to be that of one who has all their armies, fully fed and rested and with good working ammunition. And it's going to be a very different battle, right? It's going to be the same enemy, the same virus, the same hurricane. So we're going to talk about some things we can do and not do to strengthen our houses, if you will, our bodies, our immunity. I do want to make one comment about the mask situation, excuse me, specific to the coronavirus, which is this: don't wear a mask. They're ridiculous. They do not protect against the virus. That's it. They don't. What they may do is, if people are already infected, if they already know and have been diagnosed that they have it, it will help prevent some of the spread of it through droplets through the air. It will do nothing to protect a healthy person. And in fact, if it is not used correctly, exactly correctly, with other sanitary behaviors that are done, followed very rigorously, it can actually even help spread the virus. And even the World Health Organization does not think that healthy people should be wearing masks to prevent against the virus. So don't do that. That's a big no. Now, what can you do? Well, old vitamin C, the old standby, the one that we all know and love and everybody has talked about for the common cold for so long and everybody's debated, that is actually an enormously effective booster of immunity and of all the different metabolic processes that take place in an immune system response. Everything happens faster and better and sharper with a good supply of vitamin C. Good thing about this: impossible to OD. In fact, there were therapies at one point that were giving intravenous vitamin C, and the way that they knew they were giving too much, the prescription would go take to bowel tolerance, which just meant that if you started to get a little bit of loosening of bowels, you get a little diarrhea, that's when your body can no longer use the vitamin C, and that's when you can back off it. And I tell you that just to say, do not worry about taking too much of this stuff. I would recommend everybody just to fortify, really, really low kind of basic level fortification dosage, 2,000 milligrams a day, and really you can go higher. You could go to 10. So it doesn't build up in your tissues. It doesn't do anything bad, and it's a real standby. But it's a standby for a reason. Now, one that's not as well known, people don't think of quite as quickly as they do vitamin C, is zinc, which is really the big immune system booster in the body, and one that we should absolutely double up on during any kind of perceived challenge like the one that we're talking about here with the virus. I would go as high as 50 milligrams a day of zinc if you feel like you're coming down with anything, and 30 should be probably your just basic minimum dosage as a fortification. I'm a big fan of this stuff. This is black elderberry extract. And black elderberries are horrible tasting little fruits that you can't even get in this country anyway. And if you could, you wouldn't want them because they taste horrible. But the extract of them is so filled with antioxidants that it's just like taking a really high-level multi-antioxidant in one sip. And this is the best brand. There's a lot of imitators, but Sambucol is really the one to get. There is actual research on this. And it doesn't prevent the cold, doesn't prevent the flu, but what it does do is it cuts the number of days that you are actually out with the symptoms of the flu. And if anybody's ever had the flu and they know how horrible you feel, if you go from being sick 7 days to being sick only 3 days, that's a pretty nice little, benefit. So I'm a big fan of that during the season. I also like olive leaf complex very much. In fact, I once even wrote a little mini booklet about it because it really is a very strong antimicrobial. It just fights a lot of different germs, and I listed all of the different things it's been found to be effective of in the booklet. But the olive plant is just such a miraculous thing between the oil, the leaf, the polyphenols, all the stuff that's in the extracts and in the complexes. So I think this is a very, very good thing to add to your general medicine cabinet of fortifying the immune system to make it be as good as it can possibly be. My favorite brand for this is Barlean's, and they make it both in a pill that you can take, in a gel, or in a spray, which is really nice in the throat, also very soothing. Finally, there's NAC, N-acetylcysteine, which is a wonderful supplement that you can take that's long been known as something that can relieve symptoms and help soothe respiratory conditions in general. Very strong antioxidant that tends to act in the upper respiratory passages, bronchial tubes, lungs, all that stuff. And you can read about that. This article is a Take to the Bank article. It's very good and it's referenced. And again, I'm showing you also a very good, reliable brand, Thorne, which is not easy to get. around town, so to speak. I'll tell you a way to do that in a minute. But a good, strong, reputable brand, NAC, about 600 to 900 milligrams a day. Definitely something to include in this kind of prevention program, if you will. I'm going to mention these because for a couple reasons. They're not widely available. They're kind of expensive. I'm just going to tell you about them because me and many other practitioners often will get these for our patients or recommend them to our clients. They're usually only available through professional pharmacies and professional dispensaries. I'll tell you how to do that in a second also. People do go and get them on Amazon. They're almost always fakes or they're expired, so I wouldn't recommend doing that. You should get the legitimate ones. These are really good kind of high-end packets that contain four pills per packet. The first one is all of these really strong herbs that have, terrific synergistic effect together. Lauric acid is the antiviral that's in coconut oil, and elderberry we just talked about, and eucalyptus, all these things. Very, very good little herbal formula. The second is, in fact, the NAC that I just mentioned, 900 milligram dosage, very good. The third is there's Zinc Supreme by Designs for Health, a very, very good zinc supplement that uses a lot of supporting nutrients to make sure you get the most absorbability of the zinc. And the fourth is a vitamin D complex. D is very important, not just for the immune system, but for everything else. And it also has some extra vitamin A, K, and tocotrienols, all of which give you, really good immune support packets. I have friends of mine on this. I get it for them through my Elevate pharmacy. So if you want to get this, and you can certainly do a roll your own with the supplements that I mentioned above. But if you did want to go this extra mile and get this kind of the best of, there's a 3-step process. Both Jade and I both have Elevate pharmacy accounts as clinicians. So what you do is you just go to www.wellevate.me/Jonny Bowden. You sign up for an account, your own account, just put your email and a password in there, and then you can shop the pharmacy. And this is the professional pharmacy that we all use. It's not one brand. They probably carry 100 different brands, but they're brands you can't really get in the regular stores. One or two of them possibly, but the bulk of them are just professional products, but they're worth getting. I also, in my Elevate pharmacy, for people who sign up like this, I put in a 10% discount off of everything that's sold there, and they sell everything at list price. They don't discount like Amazon, but they're also authentic. So if you feel like doing this, that's one way to do it. Have it done for you. So going back to talking about perspective, which is really where we started with all of this. So let's get some perspective on the actual dangers that we're talking about here before it gets so politicized that nobody knows what they're talking about anymore. But we do have some facts. So how does the coronavirus compare, let's say, with the flu? Well, we do know this. At least we know what we know now in March of 2020. The coronavirus so far, as of the last time I checked this day, 89,000 illnesses had been reported and 3,000 deaths worldwide. That's nothing to sneeze at, but let's keep it in perspective, right? The flu, the ordinary flu in the U.S. alone, 32 million illnesses, 310,000 hospitalizations, 18,000 deaths. That's 6 times the number of deaths. And that's in the U.S. alone, and that's this season alone. So I am not taking the stance that everybody is worried for nothing, and this is nothing that's going to, that this is all just a big hoax. I'm certainly not saying that. I'm saying let's keep it in perspective. This is not the Black Plague, which killed 25 million people, right? It's dwarfed by other things that we've been equally frightened about, like the flu, remember the swine flu, remember Ebola. I mean, there've been lots of even more frightening things that have, and they eventually get solved. And I think that we should keep it in perspective before panicking, because I think that the panic associated with this is far greater than the actual physical challenge involved. I'm sure most of you know this by now, but there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people walking around with this virus who don't know it because they're symptom-free. So if you factored all of those in and then took the percentage of deaths, it's probably even less than the 3% that the CDC is reporting. If you modeled it and figured out how many people like with diabetes are walking around with this and they have no ideas and no symptoms, it's probably a much greater number, and then the percentage would probably drop to 1% fatalities. That's nothing to ignore. And you want to listen to, the recommendations and wash our hands and do all that, but you also don't want to live in a state of panic. And there's a reason for that as well. So my biggest take home from this webinar, the thing I'm going to recommend more than anything, is to relax. And I'm now going to tell you the science on why that matters. Our thoughts make a difference. There is an entire science called psychoneuroimmunology that studies the impact. Psycho, right? The brain, neuro, the neurotransmitters, all of the chemicals that are secreted in the brain, and how these things affect the immune system. So literally, you can see how your thoughts influence your immune system. And they do that through the reward systems in the brain. It's very, very interesting, but the take home of it is that what you think about can cause stress, and stress can cause sickness. It's a straight line. These emotions are the enemy of your immune system. What you think about, your thoughts, your feelings are related to your neurotransmitters, which are related to your hormones, and all of that is related to your metabolic health. And these guys are the enemy of it. And I'm not saying ignore them, I'm saying manage them. And don't let them get out of hand for something that is probably not quite as dangerous as everybody is saying that it is right now. And how do you manage some of those enemy of the immune system emotions? Simple stuff. Take a walk where there's greenery. There's so much science on what just being exposed to greenery, even in an urban environment, what it does metabolically. I just did an expert interview with amazing Dr. Austin Perlmutter about the Perlmutter's new book, Brainwash. And they talk about the healing power of this and the impact on stress and metabolic measures of destruction, inflammation, for example. So take a walk or get exposed to some greenery. Meditate, deep breathe. Even deep breathing exercises, any of that, it literally calms the pulse, it lowers the blood pressure, it puts you in a different brainwave state, and all of those things are very healing to the body, and they definitely fortify the immune system. Take a darn Epsom salt bath. It's one of the most relaxing things you can do, and it saturates your body with magnesium, which brings down blood pressure and tension and all kinds of other things. It's a natural relaxant. This stuff is not airy-fairy, folks. This stuff has this is the future of medicine. This stuff has profound effects. Everybody's looking for, what pill can I take for supporting my immune system? And some of the biggest supporters and promoters of immunity are right there in front of us, and they don't have that much to do with what we take into our system. Download this app. It's a free app. It's called 48 Seconds. It's the most wonderful little thing. It's only 48 seconds, but it lets busy people just take a breath and calm down in 48 seconds. It's just a guided little meditation. It takes 48 seconds, as you can see, and this is a thing to keep on your smartphone, folks. This is easy, low-hanging fruit. And now I'm going to tell you the thing that boosts immunity probably better than anything that's ever been studied. And this is a relatively new discovery for me. In fact, I learned this from the Perlmutters in their new book, Brainwash, because they make references to the 2017 and 2018 studies, one of them done by the National Institutes of Health, that support what I'm about to tell you, which is that something that promotes the immune system, strengthens its processes, and literally gives you statistically measurable differences on blood tests in terms of your immune function is generosity. And these studies have shown that when people are generous with others, when they give to charities, or when they help out at a shelter, or when they work as a volunteer with pets, the markers of the strength of their immune system significantly increase. And Dr. Perlmutter explains that in the interview, and he explains it in the book, that what actually winds up happening is that generosity turns on the reward centers in the brain, and through the chemicals released by the reward system in the brain, the immune system is strengthened. So, if you wanted a selfish reason for being nice to people, there it is. Now, the future. I have no more prediction on this than anybody else does, but if you look historically, these things tend to resolve. Cures are found. They become manageable. I mean, I lived through the AIDS crisis. Nobody thought anybody would ever get through that, and it would destroy the planet. And yet people live with that now almost routinely. And I remember the swine flu, and I remember, the Spanish flu, and many other things, SARS, that people were panicked about. Some panic is good, some is not. To the degree that you can strengthen your house, which is really all you can do, because nobody even knows what this virus is yet. So, calm down, take a breath. All we can really do is deal with what we have, which is our house. Look to the host. We are the host. And to the degree that we can strengthen that immune system and we can build our own resilience, which is an ability to recover from or to adjust easily to misfortune or challenge, to the degree we can build that, and we can together, just like we are in things like this webinar and in Metabolic Mastery Club, and people working together and connecting with one another, that builds resilience. Resilience builds intimacy. And resilience, that was a Freudian slip, but I'm going to leave it in the webinar because it's so true. Resilience builds fortitude and immunity, and also probably, when things are balanced like that, intimacy as well. So build your house and relax. And thank you very much.